What's going on, everyone? JJ Zachariason here with the final start-sit show of the season. It's championship week. Lots of stuff going on. I'm sure there's a lot of Trey Lance questions. I'm sure there's a lot of running back questions with so many backup running backs getting a lot of work towards the end of the year. So I will get to them as soon as possible. I'll get to them right now, actually. We're going to start with Lee Vanderwild. He says, thanks, JJ. Love the show. Appreciate it. Need wide receiver help. Pick 2. Keenan Allen, Antonio Brown, Tyler Lockett, Devontae Smith. I'm going to go Antonio Brown and Keenan Allen there. I think you can maybe make the argument for Lockett. I'm not going to go with Devontae Smith just because of the volume issues that he could see. But Antonio Brown banged up. Hopefully he's able to go the entire game. But with Mike Evans on a limited snap count, I think that Antonio Brown's in play in a plus matchup, and Keenan Allen you should see a lot of volume this week as he does every week. Next one's from Jason. Says, sit one in non-PPR, Najee, Rojo, or Eli Mitchell. I'm also starting Debo. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of Eli Mitchell questions, I'm sure. There's going to be a lot of probably Philadelphia backfield questions as well. But with Eli Mitchell, you have really good options with Najee Harris and Ronald Jones. I would just play those. So I would sit Eli Mitchell. The only reason I'm saying that is, there was some talk from Kyle Shanahan earlier this week saying that they could rotate running backs if Eli Mitchell can't handle his full workload or his typical workload. Coming off that knee injury, I think there's at least some concern with Elijah Mitchell. And if you have someone like for instance, I'm starting Rashad Penny over Eli Mitchell this week because I think that they're in like a similar tier to begin with. But Rashad Penny doesn't have the risk that he wouldn't see a lot of work. And plus, the Seahawks going up against Boyle, they should see a positive game script, which would mean more Rashad Penny. So that's just an example. But I would go Najee Harris and Ronald Jones. Next one, Javonte Williams, Tyler Lockett, or Christian Kirk. I'm going to lean Tyler Lockett there. I don't know what the scoring is, though. If it's PPR especially, I would go Lockett. Next one, hey, JJ, with Cousins missing in the weather, would you roll with Hurts or Rodgers? Also, Bears defense or Eagles D? Don't have a strong opinion on the defenses there. I really like the Bears as a streamer this week, but I like Philly too, and I would be lying if I sat here and said I'd definitely play one over the other. I would probably still go with Rodgers over Hurts because the matchup is just that good. I understand the lack of shootout allure now that Cousins is going to be out, but I still think I would go with Rodgers over Hurts. The Eagles could very easily, with Jordan Howard being active, they could just run the ball like they did last time against Washington. I know Hurts was fine in that game, but I think Rodgers is a little bit safer of a bet. Hey, JJ, PPR flex DK Metcalf against Detroit, Michael Carter against Tampa Bay, or Jarrett Patterson against Philly. So Patterson's a little bit interesting. I think that he's a high variance play because they could utilize some other running backs in that backfield that we're not expecting them to utilize. I think in a PPR league, I'm going to go with DK Metcalf here. But Patterson would be number 2 on this list, and then Michael Carter would be 3. Bills, Saints, or Eagles defense. I would probably go with the Bills. I think they're in a pretty strong spot this week. It's Atlanta. Hi, JJ, Eagles or Bears D? Just answered that one. I don't really have a strong opinion between the two. Thanks, JJ. Antonio Brown or Amon-Ra St. Brown in full PPR. I would go with Antonio Brown. No Jared Goff this week. A little bit risky to play Amon-Ra St. Brown. Full PPR, AJ Brown or Antonio Brown. I'm going to still go with Antonio Brown. I know that he's banged up, but they're both very, very good options. But Antonio Brown's just in a very, very good spot. Sit 1 PPR, Edmonds if Connor sits, Mitchell, Kamara. So if Connor sits, I think that you have to play Edmonds over Mitchell. If Connor plays, I would probably go Mitchell over Edmonds. So fortunately, those games are later, so you'll be able to make that decision. Flex 1 in full PPR, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Eli Mitchell, Marquise Brown, Sony Michel. With this one, I will go with Sony Michel. I think that he has a big workload ahead, potentially. I know that the Rams are going to attack the Ravens through the air, as teams do against Baltimore, but there's still a lot of scoring potential for that Rams offense. I think Sony Michel, as long as he stays healthy in the game, should see 20 touches. Full PPR start 2, Higgins, AJ Brown, Lockett, Antonio Brown. I'm going to go with Antonio Brown and probably AJ Brown, but I think that you can make the argument for Higgins there. I think Lockett is out of this group. I think that it's 2 of those 3. 4-point passing touchdowns, start 1, Kyler, Burrow, Huntley, Hill, or Lance. I would probably lean Kyler there, but I could make the argument for Lance for sure. I really like Trey Lance today. I'm playing Lance over both Taysom Hill and Joe Burrow and Huntley in this case. So I think it's between those 2, but I think Kyler's a little bit safer. Pick 2 in PPR championship, projected to lose by 10. Have Kyler Murray, AJ Green, Jacoby Myers, or Mike Williams. If you're projected to lose by 10, I understand you saying that because you could stack with AJ Green. I still think in a PP. Oh, I guess you can start too. I think that AJ Green might be the odd man out here. I mean, 10 points is not that significant of a margin in terms of projection. So I'm gonna sit AJ Green of those three. You know, Jacoby Myers in a really good spot. Mike Williams coming off COVID, there's some risk there. If you would rather not go the Mike Williams route, it's fine to go AJ Green. This next one's need two PPR wide receivers. Would you start any of Donovan Peoples-Jones, Devontae Smith, MVS, Galladay, Pringle, or Bateman over Mike Evans today? Need upside, but don't have the best options. I would probably go with Evans there. You can make the argument for Devontae Smith, but I'm probably going to go Evans. Next one, AJ Brown and T. Higgins, nervous about both after last week. Mr. Regress to the mean. Okay, so don't worry about what happened last week. We know that they're still good options. Just because they went off last week doesn't mean they can't have a good game this week. So AJ Brown and T. Higgins, Waddle and Rojo need two wide receivers in a flex. Have Sony and Boston Scott on the bench. Okay. It depends with the half PPR. I would actually play Sony Michel and Ronald Jones here. Sony Michel's not that terrible of a spot. And then it's down to, I just talked about AJ Brown and Higgins. I'm probably leaning AJ Brown. I think Waddle is still in that subset in that group. He's probably the safest floor of that group. I think AJ Brown is the best ceiling of that group, and Higgins maybe is sort of in the middle. But I would actually play Sony Michel here with Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones and Sony Michel, both top 10 options for me at running back this week. PPR pick 2, Gallup, Osborne, Myers. PPR pick 2, Connor Howard, and Dare Gumbawale. Connor might not go, so it's really, really difficult to bank on him, but I don't like Dare Gumbawale. I don't really love Jordan Howard either because we don't know what the status of that backfield really looks like. I think Howard's probably the best. I think you have to play Howard of those three. And then, if you want to risk it, then go Connor, but have some sort of backup plan if you go with Connor. PPR pick 2, Gallup, Osborne, Myers. I would probably bench Osborne. I would definitely bench Osborne of those three. Really tough decision in half PPR. Pick 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. My goodness, this might be a little bit difficult to do on this show, but I'll try. AJ Brown, Debo, Tyreek, AB, Waddle. What in the world? All right, so we're going 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs in the flex. I'm assuming that we're gonna. Okay, you have Mixon, Najee, Swift, and Sony. I'm gonna go with Mixon and Sony with the running backs. With the wide receivers, we're gonna go Debo, Tyreek, and then we're going to flex AB. I mean, those are just incredible options this week. So could go a lot of different directions. Next one, half PPR, Boston Scott, Ramondre Stevenson, Braxton Berrios, or Jacoby Myers. I would probably go with Jacoby Myers there, but I don't mind Berrios today. Standard quarterback scoring, Lance Huntley or Taysom. I'm going Lance. Half PPR, need to start a wide receiver, running back, and a flex. Options include Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, AJ Dillon, Michael Gallup, Jarvis Landry, MVS, and Jared Patterson. There's a lot of players. Okay, off the top of my head, just looking at this, I'd probably go DeAndre Swift at running back, and I would likely go with Pittman at wide receiver, and let's say Javonte in the flex. Next one, should I feel worried if starting 49ers together this week? Maybe a little worried because I don't know if we're going to see that much passing volume in the offense, but I mean, Debo and Kittle are very good plays, individually. And then Trey Lance is a really good play as well. So I think it's okay. Obviously, there's a lot of variance because what if, Trey Lance is terrible and the offense can't move the ball down the field? But I think those are all good options in general. Would it be crazy to play Gabe Davis over Michael Pittman and Devontae Smith? I don't think it's crazy. I think they're all probably in the same-ish tier. Gabe Davis has been very good when he, is able to see a lot of snaps. My only hesitation is we don't know exactly how they're going to deploy their wide receivers. I know Emmanuel Sanders is out, but what if they use a little bit more Isaiah McKenzie? What if they don't have a super pass heavy approach? If you want to go Gabe Davis, that's fine. I would probably go with Michael Pittman, but if you want to go with Gabe Davis, it's fine. Thanks so much, JJ, for all of your content and how Bears or Eagles defense are. That's the third time I've gotten Bears versus Eagles. Don't have a strong opinion there. I just don't. It's really hard for me to say one way or the other. Both of them are really good plays. Desperate times, Jared Patterson, Keyshawn Vaughn, or Derek Gore. I'm going to go Jared Patterson there. Eli Mitchell or Tyler Boyd in PPR. Also Pitts or Schultz in PPR. I'm going to go with Schultz over Pitts, I think. And then Eli Mitchell, I'm probably going to play over Tyler Boyd and just hope that he goes. I mean, look, Schefter doesn't miss usually with this kind of stuff. He said he's expected to go. So I'm going to roll with Eli. PPR need 1 wide receiver and 2 flex. Jefferson, Amari, St. Brown, Edmonds, Mitchell, and Penny. I might actually go with, Jefferson is in a good spot, or in a decent enough spot, but man, without Kirk Cousins, it's pretty rough. I think I'm playing running backs for sure, 2 of them. And I would probably go with Penny and Mitchell, but if Mitchell doesn't go, then if James Conner doesn't go, switch to Chase Edmonds, because I think Edmonds is a better play than Mitchell without James Conner. And then obviously if Mitchell doesn't go, you have Chase Edmonds that you can play. So I like the flexibility there. I'm assuming this is Justin Jefferson and not Van Jefferson. I'm still going to probably go with Justin Jefferson. He's just such a beast. Russ or Lance. I'm going with Lance over Russell Wilson this week. Half point PPR, pick 2 of Russell Gage, Gabe Davis, Kendrick Bourne, or MVS. I'm going to go with Gabe Davis, and I might risk it with MVS for a big play. He crushed the Vikings last time we saw them. He had a really high, like a 32% target share in that game. Also, who should I start between Deontay Foreman, Boston Scott, and Jarrett Patterson? Probably between Foreman and Patterson for me. I'm going to lean Patterson, hope that he sees a decent workload. PPR pick 2, DJ Moore, Mike Williams, Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, Eli Mitchell, Javonte Williams. I am going to go with, I'm probably going to go DeAndre Swift and Eli Mitchell there. And then again, if Eli Mitchell doesn't go, you can pivot to one of those other players, whether it's Mike Williams or Javonte Williams. In PPR, Javonte over Boston Scott, Wale, or Jarrett Patterson, right? Yeah, I think that's fine. Noah Fant or Mike Gesicki. I'm probably going with Gesicki. PPR need 1 wide receiver and 2 flex. I already answered that one. Half PPR start Gabriel Davis, Gallup, Stevenson, Howard, Vaughn. Thanks. I'd probably go with, it's between Gabe Davis and Gallup. I'm going to lean Gabe Davis there, I think. Yeah. Next one, Freeman or Howard. I think you got to go with Freeman. We don't know exactly what the workload's going to look like for Jordan Howard today. 49ers defense or the Seattle defense. I will go Seattle. Half PPR pick 1, Lockett, Mike Williams, or Swift. I kind of want to say Swift here, but if you don't want to go Swift's way, I can understand, obviously coming off an injury. So I would go with Lockett over Williams if you don't feel comfortable with that. Full PPR start 2, Gabe Davis, Saquon, Boston Scott, Keyshawn Vaughn. I'm going to go with the first 2 there. Full PPR, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Everett or MVS plus Schultz season. Thanks. Let's go with the former. Do we trust Evans? I could go Visca or Wale instead. I would play him over those 2. Half PPR, Dallas Goedert or Dawson Knox. Opponent is starting Josh Allen. I think Dallas Goedert's probably the better play. Huntley, Russ, or Taysom. I think I'm leaning Huntley there, but you can make the argument for Taysom. I'm not really touching Russ. I don't think it's going to be a shootout in Seattle. Philadelphia defense or Indianapolis's defense. I'm going with Philadelphia. Happy New Year, JJ. Happy New Year, David. I appreciate it. For a PPR flex spot, Saquon or Brandon Cooks. And full PPR, I am going with Brandon Cooks. Super flex, Mills or Carr. Thanks for your insight all year. I'm going with David Carr. Derek Carr, my goodness. Sit one of these. Jefferson, Lance. Oh my gosh, these parentheses. Jefferson, Debo, Lamb, Chase, Diggs. You have to sit one of them. I think I'm actually going to sit Justin Jefferson because these options are so elite and you don't have Kirk Cousins. I think Jefferson's probably the sit, honestly. Thanks for helping me reach my first championship. Full point. Congratulations, by the way, Katie. That's great. Full PPR, Amon-Ra St. Brown or Keenan Allen. Do I consider picking up Wilson as a low streaming quarterback? Depends who your other option is at quarterback, but I would go with Allen over Amon-Ra St. Brown. Bears D or Seahawks D. Thanks. Don't have a strong preference. JJ, we have missed you. Hey, I'm glad to be back. A couple weeks ago, I had some internet issues, and then last week was the holiday, so it was tough to hop on here. But I'm glad to be back to help you guys win a championship. Help at running back. Half PPR, Jeff Wilson, Connor / Rex, plus flex Gabe or Moreau or one of the running backs. Thanks for a great year. Okay, I would flex Gabe Davis, and then I would probably play. I might risk it with James Conner. It's probably the play. If he doesn't go, you could pivot to Rex. And then obviously if Elijah Mitchell doesn't go, you just play Jeff Wilson. Next one, sit one full PPR, Zeke, Aaron Jones, Rojo, or Amon-Ra. I'm going to sit Amon-Ra St. Brown there. But again, he's killing it. He's getting a lot of those low A dot slot targets. I understand the question, but I'm still going to go with Zeke, Aaron Jones, and Rojo. PPR, Boston Scott or Rashad Bateman need upside. I guess Boston Scott in that case. Yeah, I'd go Boston Scott because the upside would be what if they end up not giving Jordan Howard much of a workload. Damian Harris, Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams, Darrell Williams, pick 3, please. I am going to bench Javonte Williams there. Thanks for all your help this year. It's my first time asking a defensive question. San Francisco or Dallas this week? Again, I don't have any strong preferences with defenses this week because, there's just a lot of decent ones, a lot of good streamers with the quarterback situations across the league. I'm probably still going to stick with Dallas, but again, I don't have like a strong feel, and I don't want you to go into this confidently like I have an obvious answer here. I think it's close between both of them. Edmonds or Carter in half point. I'm going to go with Edmonds. Would you start either over Zach Wilson? Probably not. Swift or Amon-Ra St. Brown in PPR. I'm going to go with Swift. Dak or Justin Herbert this week. I choose wrong every week. LOL. Thanks, JJ. I'd probably go with Herbert. But yeah, I mean, they're in the same tier for sure. There's no doubt. I would not be shocked at all if Dak in more of a shootout has a better game than Justin Herbert. DJ Moore or Gabe Davis in half PPR. I'm going to go with DJ Moore. Gabe Davis or Claypool. I'm going to go with Gabe Davis. Rank in half PPR. Boston Scott, Tyler Lockett, St. Brown. Probably go Lockett, St. Brown, Scott. Green Bay or Chicago defense. I'd probably lean Green Bay there. It's just a better unit, and the matchup with Kirk Cousins not playing is just as good. PPR pick 1, Ayuk, Pittman, Gabe Davis. Thanks. This one's really close. All three of them sort of in the same tier. I'm going to lean Pittman there, but I think you can make the argument for either of the other two. Need 3, Saquon Barkley, Boston Scott, DK Metcalf, KJ Osborne, Dare Ogunbowale. Okay, I would go with Saquon Barkley, DK Metcalf, and I might risk it with Boston Scott. I do not feel good about Dare Ogunbowale this week. We don't even know if his workload is going to translate from last week to this week. So I might go with Boston Scott and just cross my fingers that they use him with Jordan Howard's stinger. PPR 0.2 per carry, Saquon or AJ Dillon. I'm going Saquon. Happy New Year. Thanks for helping me all season. Streaming quarterbacks this week because I have Lamar. Do I go with Trey Lance, Davis Mills, Tua, or Huntley? To me, it's Trey Lance. I love Trey Lance today. Burrow or Lance. I'm going Trey Lance over Burrow. Maybe that's a little bit controversial, but I think Lance has the rushing upside and potential. He at least has a better ceiling. Burrow, obviously, more of the floor play. Also looking for a flex this week, Jordan Howard, Rex Burkhead, or Robbie Anderson. There, I would risk it with Jordan Howard. Rex Burkhead, obviously coming off that massive game, but his peripheral numbers weren't any different than other weeks entering that week. And usually we were not playing Rex Burkhead, right? It was just a very good matchup. Things went his way. That happens in fantasy football. I'm going to risk it with Jordan Howard and hope he can see 15 touches. PPR, Michael Carter or DJ Moore in the flex. I'm going to go DJ Moore. Standard League, bench 1, Boston Scott, Brandon Cooks, or Christian Kirk. I'm going to bench Boston Scott there. Huntley or Lance for highest ceiling. I think Lance is a higher ceiling. Amon-Ra or JJ. I'm assuming that's Justin Jefferson. I'm still playing Justin Jefferson. PPR, Sony or Darrell Williams. I'm going with Sony, but I like Darrell Williams a lot. QB indecisions, Huntley, Taysom Hill, Russell Wilson, or Lance. Thanks. I think I answered this one earlier, actually, with the same group of 4, and I'm going with Trey Lance. Let's ride with Trey Lance. Michael Pittman or Cordero Patterson. I'm desperate for my first Dynasty championship. If it's a PPR league, I think that you would go Pittman, but if not, go Patterson. Pick 2.5 PPR, Javonte, Dare, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Thanks, JJ. I'm benching Dare and probably, I might just go with the wide receivers there. Yeah, I'd go with the wide receivers. PPR flex, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Brandon Cooks, or DJ Moore. Thanks. I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks there. I'm the underdog. Who represents higher ceiling, Taysom or Russell Wilson? I think Taysom represents the higher ceiling. Pick 2, non-PPR, Ogunbowale, Tony Pollard, Jarrett Patterson, or MVS. I'm going to go with Tony Pollard and Jarrett Patterson. Superflex, start 2, big underdog, Burrow, Lance, Huntley. I'm going to go with Burrow and Lance. PPR tight end, Gesicki or Freiermuth. I'm probably going to go with Gesicki. Does Edmonds become a top 10 option in PPR if Connor doesn't go? Yeah, he's like a fringe top 10. He's definitely, we saw what he did last week. He's definitely at least a fringe RB1. He'd probably be a pretty low-end RB1. Pick 2, half PPR, Jordan Howard, Ogunbowale, Burkhead, Jeff Wilson, Jarrett Patterson. I don't think you can trust Jeff Wilson. I don't think you can trust Ogunbowale. I'd go with Patterson and Howard, I think. But, obviously there's some risk in playing Jordan Howard. I can't believe I have to ask this question, but Sean Mannion against Green Bay or Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence. I'm sorry, though. I hate both of them this week. Full PPR flex, running back Foreman or wide receiver Gabe Davis. In a full PPR league, I might go with Gabe Davis. PPR running back Ogunbowale, Foreman, Burkhead, or Howard. Thank you for all that you do. You're welcome. Or for all the help. I would say Howard probably. But if you don't want to go that risky, just play Foreman. Hey, JJ, sit one, full PPR, Sony, Penny, Elijah Mitchell, Singletary, Darrell Williams. Love you. Love you too, Charles. I would bench, I might bench Elijah Mitchell here because of the scary floor situation. And all the other options are really good. So, yeah, I might bench Eli Mitchell there. Obviously, he could go off. Great matchup for him. Sees a big workload when he plays usually, but he's coming back from that injury. I think that's the tiebreaker. Sit one of my lovely, lovely, lovely options. A.J. Brown, Antonio Brown, Deontay Johnson, or T. Higgins. Don't have a strong opinion here. It's really hard to have a strong opinion here. I guess I would bench T, but yeah, I mean, you can go any direction here. Perriman, Bateman, or DPJ, full PPR, and underdog. I probably play Bateman. Perriman's probably number 2 for me, and then DPJ. Higher ceiling, MVS or Jared Patterson. MVS probably has a higher ceiling, but I would rather play Jared Patterson. Hey, JJ, love the show. Mike Williams or DJ Moore. Probably DJ Moore. Half PPR, Goombawale, Boston Scott, Howard, or Stevenson. Best upside. I think Howard has the best upside, if that's what you're looking for. If you want to play it a little, I think Howard's probably the play. Full PPR, Cortland Sutton or MVS. I'm going MVS. Darrell or St. Brown in full PPR. I'm going Darrell Williams. Pick 3 in full PPR, Aaron Jones, Sony Michel, Patterson, Javonte Williams, or Darrell Williams. I'm going with Aaron Jones, Sony Michel, and Darrell Williams. Huntley or Lance. I'm leaning Lance over Huntley this week. Pick 2.5 PPR, Sony Michel, Singletary, or Swift. I might go with just Michel and Singletary because think of it this way: with Sony Michel, we're more confident in the amount of work that he's going to see in his backfield than DeAndre Swift. You could argue with Devin Singletary too in a plus matchup, just given the way they've been using him over the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm going to bench Swift there coming off that injury. Half PPR, Lockett or Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you need stealing, it's Lockett. I think Amon-Ra still has the floor. I mean, if you're going for that championship, I'm probably playing Tyler Lockett, but you can definitely make the argument for Amon-Ra. Dare versus Jared Patterson. I'm going Patterson. Pick one of Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Ryan Tannehill. Definitely going Trey Lance there. Lance, Hurts, or Hill. Probably go Hurts because you basically want Trey Lance to be Jalen Hurts, right? Like that's what you're hoping for with this matchup. Half PPR, Foster Moreau, Noah Fant. I like Foster Moreau today. I'm going to go with Foster Moreau. It's facing Indianapolis. They are the best team in adjusted fantasy points allowed to tight ends. Or 4 tight ends, I should say. Half PPR, pick 3 of 5 to start. Rojo, Eli Mitchell, Penny Swift, Javonte. Thanks for all that you do. I will go with Rojo and probably Penny and Swift because of the Eli Mitchell situation. But I might just go with Eli. Go Eli Mitchell, actually. Next one. Thanks for everything, JJ. Half PPR, flex 2. Edmonds, DJ Moore, or DK. Let's just sit DJ Moore. Braxton Berrios or Gabe Davis in PPR. I think Berrios has a better floor probably because he's going to be peppered with looks, but I would play Gabe Davis. Half point, Javonte, Boyd, or Kirk. I might go with Kirk, at least from a ceiling standpoint, but Javonte's probably like the middle of the road, looking at floor ceiling. Probably go Javonte. Gesicki or Schultz in 0.5 PPR. Probably lean Gesicki. Ride the Ram stack with Stafford to shoot for upside with Lance. Is Lance's upside really worth the risk? You have a good option in Matthew Stafford against a really bad secondary, so I would just play Matthew Stafford. Half PPR, Mooney, Osborne, or Burkhead. I'd probably go Mooney, I guess. Half PPR, choose one. Chase Edmonds, Boston Scott, Gabe Davis, or Tony Pollard. Probably go Chase Edmonds there. Dare Goombawale or Jared Patterson. I'm going Patterson. Keyshawn Vaughn or Rex Burkhead in half PPR. I really, really want to say Keyshawn Vaughn here. I really think it might be Vaughn, but Burkhead is definitely safer. Hey, JJ, thanks for the excellent work this year. Sit one in full PPR, Devontae Smith, Chase Edmonds, or Eli Mitchell. I am benching Devontae Smith there. Evans or Devontae Smith. There's risk with Evans. We don't know what his snap count's going to really look like. I'd probably play Evans because I don't think Devontae Smith is this unbelievable play. But he's definitely safer over Evans. Schultz or Goddard, I'm going Goddard. Dak or Lance, I'm going Dak. Half PPR. Sorry, that was another one. PPR need 1 wide receiver and 2 flex. I'm going with, so you have Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, St. Brown, Edmonds, Mitchell, Penny. I'm going Penny, Mitchell, and then if James Conner doesn't go, play Edmonds. I might have answered this one earlier. And then I'm probably going Justin Jefferson at wide receiver. Pick 3, Swift, Rojo, Eli Mitchell, Edmonds, Darrell Williams. Let's go with Rojo, Eli Mitchell, and then obviously, once again, play Edmonds if James Conner doesn't go, and then Darrell Williams. Komet or Freiermuth, I'd go Freiermuth. Happy New Year, JJ. Penny, Jacobs, Swift. Who do I bench? I would probably bench Swift. Probably. Maybe Jacobs. That's a tough one. I think I'd bench Swift. Pick 2, half PPR, Javonte, Dare, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra. I think I am benching the running backs there. I think I'd answered that one earlier. Trey Lance, Taysom Hill, or Carson Wentz, both coming off symptomatic COVID. I am a slight favorite. I'm going with Trey Lance. Swift or Rojo in PPR, I will go with Rojo there. I love Rojo this week. Hard not to. Edmonds or Penny, I would, again, you have an opportunity to pivot here. I'm going to go with Penny over Edmonds, but if James Conner doesn't go, play Edmonds over Penny. Need 3. 1 needs to be a running back, half PPR. Pittman, Lazard, Mooney, Howard, Scott, Patterson, Connor. Let's go Patterson at running back, and then let's go Pittman and Howard. It's risky, but I think that's the direction I'd go. Need 2 in PPR, Mitchell, Swift, Pollard, and Boston Scott. We're going with Mitchell and Swift. I think that one's pretty easy. Jared Patterson, Boston Scott, Rex Burkhead. Let's go with Jared Patterson. Pick 2.5 PPR, Javonte, I already answered that one. Devontae Parker or Dare Agumbawale in PPR. I'm going Devontae Parker in a bounce back spot this week against Tennessee. Lance or Huntley, I'm going Lance. Singletary or Edmonds, I think you just have to play Singletary. Full PPR, Fant or Everett. I like Everett more. Pitts or Knox. Probably go with Pitts. Brandon Cooks or St. Brown if I'm also starting Swift. I would go with Cooks. Chicago defense or San Francisco, don't have a strong opinion. Mooney or Devontae Smith, I'm going Devontae Smith. Superflex league starting Huntley. Should I play Russell Wilson or Tua in the Superflex spot? Probably lean Russ over Tua, but I don't mind Tua today. Hey, JJ, thanks for helping me get to the final dance. Standard scoring, Pitts or Knox. Just answer that one. I'm leaning Pitts. Gabe Davis, Ayuk, or Lazard. Probably go Ayuk, but I can make the argument for Gabe Davis. Hard to play Davis plus Knox when have Bills kicker. Yeah, I mean, if you want, if you want to go Pitts and Davis, that's fine. If you want to go with Knox and Ayuk, that's fine too. Either combination works for me. Mitchell, Javonte, Lockett, and St. Brown have to sit 1 in PPR. I am sitting probably Lockett or Javonte. Just depends on what my team structure looks like, because Lockett obviously a little bit more boom or bust. Desperate times, Jarrett Patterson, Vaughn, or Howard. I'm going Patterson. Half PPR, Dallas Goedert or Dawson Knox. I am going to go with Dallas Goedert. Thanks for everything this year, JJ. Taysom, Huntley, Tannehill, or Mac Jones. Let's go with Taysom. JJ start 2. Michael Carter, Boston Scott, Deontay Foreman, Rex Burkhead, Dare Agumbawale. Let's go with Foreman and Carter, I guess. But I don't have super strong pull. I can see Boston Scott having the best ceiling of that group. I just don't like Dare Agumbawale this week. Sony versus Baltimore or Kamara versus Carolina in full PPR. I'm doubting it. I'm doubting it's the logical because Saints missing a couple O-line starters. Look, if you want to go with Sony over Kamara, I'm not going to stop you. Kamara should see a lot of work, though, without Mark Ingram. I think he's the rankings play, the projection play, all of that. But if you want to go with Sony, I'm not going to stop you because I understand. I like Sony today. Dare or Jared Patterson, I'd go with Patterson. Full PPR league, pick 1 in the flex at running back, Jamar Chase, or pick 1 flex at running back, Jamar Chase, Javonte Williams, Zeke, and Nick Chubb. You're going with Jamar Chase and Nick Chubb there. Penny or Mitchell, thanks, JJ. I have the exact same dilemma. I'm going with Penny. I just think that he's a little bit safer with Mitchell coming back from injury. Liking Pittman or DJ Moore in half PPR. I think they're in the same tier. I'd probably lean Pittman. But you could go, I can make an argument for either guy. Michael Gallup, Boston Scott, MVS, half PPR. Thanks, JJ. I'd probably go MVS. Penny, Sony, or D Will and PPR, I'm assuming. I'm going to go with Sony there. Cordero Patterson or Pittman, depends on the format. If it is a PPR format, I'd probably lean Pittman. Love the show. Flex, half PPR, Marquise Brown, DJ Moore, Boston Scott, or Jordan Howard. Probably go with Marquise Brown. Freeman or Howard, Seattle or San Francisco. I'd probably go Freeman, and then I would go probably Seattle. Love the show. Need help at wide receiver 2. Ayuk or Devontae Parker, half PPR. I don't mind them both this week. I'd probably lean Ayuk, but if, I like Devontae Parker's spot. I think he's more of like a GPP play, though. Hey, JJ, Cordero Patterson or AJ Dillon. I'm going with Cordero Patterson. PPR with Sanders out. Would you play Davis over DJ Moore? Okay. With Emmanuel Sanders out, would you play Gabriel Davis over DJ Moore? Probably still go DJ Moore, but I could make the argument for Davis for sure. St. Brown or Pittman? I only got a time for a couple more questions. St. Brown or Pittman, half point and full point PPR. Thanks so much for helping me get to the championship ×2. Awesome, Sarah. I would go with Pittman, I think, between those two. Hey, JJ, love the show. Pick 2.5 PPR. Javonte, Dare, JJ, Amon-Ra. Let's go with the wide receivers. I think I already answered that one. Happy BR need a flex out of Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, Devontae Smith. Probably go with Devontae Smith, but if we knew that Jordan Howard was healthy, I'd easily say Jordan Howard. So he obviously has the most upside and potential of that group. Last question, Darrell Williams or Eli Mitchell in PPR? I'm leaning Darrell Williams because we don't know what the workload is going to look like for Eli Mitchell coming off that injury. I wouldn't be shocked if Eli Mitchell outscores Darrell Williams, but I think playing it safe, Darrell Williams is the better play. We have Justin and Jessica coming on very, very soon. I just want to thank all you guys for tuning into this show each and every Sunday. This is the last one of the season with it being championship week. I hope that, I was able to help. And then the fill-ins, Ryan coming in, Jim Sonis coming in, Justin came in one week. Hopefully we were able to help you guys out. And there are a lot of questions championship week, which is good to see. Hopefully you guys are able to win a championship. If you have any more questions, you can hit me up on Twitter for the next, 20 minutes or so at Late Round QB. That's where I can be found. Otherwise, just waiting for Jessica and Justin to hop on here, and we should be good to go. There he is. What's up, man?
What's going on, JJ? How you doing?
What's up, guys? Enjoy your day. Good luck with the bets. I'll talk to you guys later.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. Jessica, Gridiron, and Justin Henry, you're with us today on the Fanduel YouTube channel. How are you doing today, Jessica? An awesome Week 17 slate ahead.
I'm doing great. I'm excited for some football today. There's some good games, and let's go.
Let's do it. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will try to get to as many comments as we can. We're going to be going over some of the games today. Let's get started here in the FanDuel Sportsbook, and I want to talk about this Las Vegas Raiders-Colts game. Obviously, Carson Wentz going in, going out. That changed a lot of what this game was going to be. Jessica, what are your immediate thoughts when you know Carson Wentz is playing? They want to establish the run in a game that they're looking to beat the Raiders.
Yes, of course. This game actually, as good as those Colts are, I'm really kind of leaning the Raiders in this matchup. I believe is it still at +7? Is that what I'm seeing here? Yeah. Of course, Carson Wentz. Oh, +8.5. Or okay, it's up that even better for more reason for me to take the Raiders. So yes, we do know what the Colts are all about, right? It's their run game, especially with Jonathan Taylor. Carson Wentz, he has good games, and then he has games where you're just like, all right, let's just rely on them running the ball. But the Raiders, yes, when it comes to them, they are struggling in the red zone. Their defense is beat up, but still, Derek Carr, if those Colts are going to put points up on the board, if there's one thing Derek Carr is known to do, is he's one of the best when it comes to his accuracy of throwing the ball and getting the ball down the field. Yeah, his wide receiver core can struggle at times. However, I feel like if they want to keep up in this matchup, they're just going to rely on Derek, and that's why I like this game, and I think it might be a lot closer than some people might think. So that's one game that I really like. Another one that I have to say, which is one of my favorite picks this week, is going to be the Dolphins versus the Tennessee Titans at +3.5. One of the reasons I really like this game is you have the Dolphins where they have a spark run game in Duke Johnson, especially this past few weeks. He's proven to be really well, especially in the run game. You have Tua, who, yes, he is the occasional he's the occasional interception here and there. However, he is number one at deep ball completion. He's also the number one in red zone completion as of right now. You have all his weapons to worry about, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, and then you have the Titans where, hey, welcome back.
I'm back. I don't know, technical difficulties. Hopefully there's no more.
No worries. I was just kind of giving a quick explanation on why I'm all about Miami today, going up against those Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and to me, this game, there's a lot of implications for both teams. Obviously, to me, I think that the Dolphins are going to be looking to bounce back after strong Monday night performance going into Tennessee. And to me, Tennessee, obviously, we saw what the difference with A.J. Brown means to this team, and kind of getting that air attack back.
Absolutely, which is so true. And, but I have to say, with A.J. Brown back, he better be ready for Xavier Howard and Byron Jones in this matchup. It's not going to be super easy. And, of course, you have Tannehill, where he has really good games. And then especially early on in the season, and as of late, really, he hasn't been performing. He's been underperforming, especially from last season. And I know it has a lot to do with, who's around him. But in this matchup, I feel like the Miami, they're creeping up. They're good. We have all the weapons, especially defensively, to keep up with these Titans.
That I know that the Dolphins fins up for over there and looking to get on the board there. Another game that I want to talk about. Actually, let's dive a little bit more. You mentioned some of the, just some of the back end, a lot of the touchdown scores, right? We're looking at some of these anytime touchdown scores for this game. Obviously, to me, A.J. Brown is somebody that sticks out to me, but you mentioned he's got some tough coverage this week. Are you looking at any other options for this Tennessee Titans team down here? There's some other, other options. We're looking at potentially in the run game, Deontay Foreman getting a little bit more of a workload. The one that looks really sneaky to me is Ryan Tannehill, plus 350 there, kind of getting in the end zone. So if you're looking for a little Hail Mary action in this game, I do like Ryan Tannehill to score using his legs a little bit in this game.
Hey, I'm not mad about that. I think that's a good one to do. I also like, what is that, Duke Johnson at plus 250 I saw too on Miami side of the ball. He's really stepped up.
And Duke Johnson, I mean, that the entire backfield's a little bit of a question mark. Is that something you're still giving a little bit of credence to? You're like, you know what? Duke Johnson established himself over the last 2 weeks as the dominant back in this field. Are you still leaning that way, even though there's a couple other options there in Miami?
Of course, there's you've seen the chemistry really well with Tua and Gaskins this year. But I have to say, Duke Johnson has really proven himself, especially his past couple weeks. So I think that he's been playing great ball. So I'm not mad about that.
Absolutely. And if you're watching, you have any questions along, go ahead and ask. One of the questions that just came in was in regards to in Garza fantasy. It looks like Renfro or St. Brown at the flex, and Cordell Patterson or Penny as my RB2. So Matt is asking a little bit of questions about fantasy. And for me, I'm looking at this. Obviously, Hunter Renfro has had a couple of bad games where they haven't been targeting him, and St. Brown has been all the craze, especially in fantasy. I'll go ahead and stick with St. Brown in this matchup, even though I expect the bounce back from Hunter Renfro. And then at running back, I think you got to go with Rashad Penny. They'll be establishing the run. As we head over to the Seattle Seahawks game, I want to go ahead and talk about this one. Jessica, to me, this game screams that there's going to be some type of craziness going on. We got the Seahawks, the Lions. I've never been on the Seahawks. To me, always, I can't get a good read on them. And then the Lions, we talked about it in the past, where they seem to always be just on teetering back and forth between covering and not covering. How are you feeling about this game?
Ooh, if I had to make a play on this one, I would lean the Lions. Honestly, it's those Seahawks. It's just like you had mentioned, and the Lions, they've been covering really well against the spread this season. And when you kind of look at them, this is kind of just what I get from this game. When you look at the Lions, their pass defense has been generous with wide receivers this season, allowing an average of 8 yards per attempt. And then you have the Seahawks, where it's Russ and company, who should be able to shred this defense, but the Lions always still find a way to keep games close, and they keep it interesting. So it's one of those things where this should be Seattle should be able to handle this game. However, like I said, the Lions just are finding a way to keep games closer.
Yeah, and one of the questions coming in from Chris Gonzalez is asking about DeAndre Swift or Devontae Freeman. And DeAndre Swift is expected to be back for this game, expected to receive a full workload, has no injury designation. And to me, he's a massive weapon for this team. So go ahead and fire up DeAndre Swift in your lineup for fantasy this week. I do like him in championship lineups. Another question coming in really quickly before we head into the next game. I need one: Saquon Barkley, Scary Terry, or Duke Johnson. And these are some tough options right now. We've seen Saquon Barkley really tank for fantasy managers last week. Scary Terry obviously doesn't have the connection that you'd like to see this late in the year. And Duke Johnson, as you mentioned, will have a chance to score, but is in a crowded backfield. For me, I'm going to lean on the guy you probably don't want to hear, and that's Scary Terry. Saquon, to me, is just very risky right now. Normally, I'd be all in on Saquon, but I think I would go Scary Terry in this matchup, especially in half-point, full-point PPR. One of the games I really want to get to and make sure we have a chance to is this Kansas City Chiefs, Cincinnati Bengals game. Obviously, a lot of fantasy implications, but a lot of betting implications as well, especially with the way that the Bengals took care of the Ravens last week. Joe Burrow, passing records. We have T. Higgins. T. Higgins really showing himself as a wide receiver one type option. Jamar Chase is obviously a dynamic rookie receiver. And Joe Mixon had a great game as well. But then we got the Chiefs fully reloaded. Travis Kelce's back. Tyreek Hill's back. This one should be fireworks.
Yeah, and this one, I know this is a good game, but I honestly kind of like the Bengals, though. I lean the Bengals and the Dogs in this matchup. You have the Chiefs where, yes, they've been playing extremely well, especially this past few weeks, and they're actually, when you look at them, they're a top 4 offense in points per game, and the last game, they scored an average of 39.3 points, and then they have a top 5 defense in points allowed, so that's something to keep in mind. You have the Bengals where everything you just said about how great they performed last week, especially Joe Burrows. But, you have all of his weapons there, and I feel like they're able to keep up, especially the run game and Joe Mixon. So it's one of those games where, as hot as those Chiefs are, I still feel like the Bengals have a chance to keep up with them and keep the game a lot closer.
Good points. And does this game concern you when you're picking as somebody who would lean towards the Bengals or pick the Bengals on this side? Does it concern you at all? The Chiefs getting all their weapons back. Travis Kelce, obviously Tyreek Hill came back in a limited capacity last week. Does that scare you before we move into these anytime touchdown scores?
Not really, just because I feel like even from early on in the season, when especially looking at all the numbers when it comes to the Bengals, it's their defense that has been performing better than the offense. And now the offense is really starting to show up and perform and have some good games. So I feel like either side, when I have to look at the Bengals, I trust their defense more than their offense. So I feel like they're going to be able to keep up with the Chiefs.
Awesome. Before we get into these anytime scores, let's get into this comment really quickly. Half point PPR. I need 3. Waddle, Rojo, Rashad Penny, DK Metcalf, Amon St. Brown, or Justin Jefferson. I think you got to go with Justin Jefferson in this scenario. Waddle to me is a full go, especially, you saw the connection he had last week. And then to me, it comes down between some of these other options. I mean, you have all studs here to me. This is one of those where you're going to be wrong on some, you're going to be right on some. The last one I would personally go with is Rojo in a great matchup against the Jets. I feel like Rojo would be the last one. Jessica, do you have any leans on this one, or are you staying away?
Oh, man, staying away from this one.
It's fully loaded. As we get back to these anytime touchdown scores, though, obviously we've seen both of these teams score a lot of points. We know who the main targets are. We got Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, obviously with Clyde Edwards-Helaire out. Darrell Williams going to step in. We know Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins. All of those guys have been standards fixtures for the entire season. Is there anybody that sticks out to you down here, just knowing what we know about the matchup heading in?
Oh, yeah. In this matchup, it's going to be one of those where it's either going to be the hype of Kelce or it's going to be Tyreek's game. Honestly, It's so tough to tell. And then looking on the other side of the ball, you can always rely on Jamar Chase, but I've been liking T. Higgins too, especially this past couple weeks. He's really been showing up. So they might be ready to be all over Jamar Chase. So somebody like T. Higgins, and then of course Joe Mixon. He's just been awesome this year too.
He's had an incredible season. And with the running back position, it's obviously in this game, I feel like the Bengals are going to have to establish the run. I know that the Chiefs have been playing a lot better against the pass recently. And before we get into our next one, I do have a question for you. Is weather impacting any of these lines that you've seen so far? Obviously, weather has become a factor over the last couple of weeks with wind, rain, etc. Is there any matchup that you're like, you know what? This David Kratz comment says, are you taking the unders on any games with bad weather today, including the Packers and Bills games? Was there anyone that just kind of caught your eye with wind or anything?
Yeah, actually 2 games that I was kind of even leaning overs possibly, but now I'm going back down to unders would be the Packers game and the Bills game. Those are 2 games that
Bills both, yes.
Yep, that I've switched on because of weather.
Yes, and so the Packers, the Vikings and Packers over-under set at 41.5. And so right now you're looking to lean under with that, especially with the news that Sean Mannion is going to be starting this game. do you have a lean this way? Obviously, 13 points is on Sunday Night Football is going to be heavy.
Yeah, see, I know 13 and a half. It's still 13 and a half. Is that what it is with officially Cousins out?
We have it. We have it at 13 on here. Yes.
Yeah, 13. Ooh, it should be an easy win because it's Green Bay and how explosive they've been, especially with Kirk Cousins out. So now that's really, I feel like Kirk Cousins has been the powerhouse when it comes to this offense.
Right.
Dalvin Cook is going to be back, which is definitely going to help and benefit them, especially in the run game. But if I have to pick a side, I would lean Green Bay. But because you have Aaron Rodgers, who has the lowest amount of interceptions with 4 on the season, and he has 33 touchdowns on the year. It's the 4th year in a row with such a dominant record. He's on his way to becoming possibly MVP again this season. You have Devontae Adams. The Vikings have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. They're allowing almost 5 yards per carry. So Jones and Dillon, they could have a great game. Even see what their prop bets are. I'd be interested to see. And
we're looking at Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They're both right there at the top of the list as far as anytime touchdowns. And looking at some of the same game parlay action there, when it goes for rushing yards, I want to take a look at the rushing yards for this because I could see that as well. Both of those players, especially as you mentioned with the weather being a factor, both of those players getting close to this over number. I do like that. And I think that especially this one looks really, the Dalvin Cook over 78 looks really intriguing to me, especially because we know they're going to have to establish the run.
Exactly. And I feel like that's going to be their biggest thing going into this matchup. Because, Green Bay actually, they also struggle at stopping the run too. They actually they're all giving up almost 5 yards per carry as well. So this is going to be perfect for Cook in this matchup, and I feel like that's who they're going to rely on realistically because they don't have Cousins, and as much as as explosive as Justin Jefferson has been this season, how explosive is he really going to be in this matchup again because he doesn't have Cousins throwing the ball. So
very good points there. Very good points there. And so the other weather game you mentioned was the Buffalo Bills, and going up a scrappy Falcons team who obviously. It's tough for Matt Ryan to even stay at his feet at times, but they always seem to find a way, 1 week to disappoint you, 1 week to surprise you. What are your thoughts on this game heading in?
So even though it's the Bills, I kind of like the Falcons in this game. Once again, I do like the under more if I was to make a play, but I would have to say go with the Falcons. That's a lot of points. Yes, you have the Bills where when you look at them, every one of the Bills games, one has been by double digits this season. All but 2 of the 8 losses by Atlanta have been by double digits. You have the Falcons where their defense has stepped up in their secondary with big plays this season. Their front 7 is definitely weaker, so causing pressure on Josh Allen is highly unlikely in this matchup. But, it's still the Falcons, and I feel like they just find ways to, keep up in the games for some odd reason. And then, just looking at the other side of the ball, offensively, Matt Ryan, who he's a veteran, he's used to the pressure. We've seen this all season long. You have Cordell Patterson, who's strong on the ground, and he's becoming actually a pretty dangerous slot receiver, especially after catching the ball and using his legs to get extra yards. Kyle Pitts, of course, he's been a great asset as a rookie to this team. And he's been able to prove that he can do deeper routes than most tight ends can, and it's definitely helped this offense. You got the Bills where, yes. Go ahead.
I agree 100%, especially on the Cordell Patterson one. I want to touch on his receiving prop. To me, even with the weather issues, this looks really intriguing to me. 17 and a half yards. I'd be leaning the over in this one, even though they've been establishing, as you can see, Kyle Pitts, Russell Gage become the more dominant passing factors in the passing game. I do kind of like that Cordell Patterson. It looks very sneaky to me there at 17 and a half.
Ooh, yeah, I like that too. I like where you're going with that. And then, of course, you have the Bills where looking at it's like who's going to have the explosive game in this matchup, really, when it comes to all those wide receivers. And, the Bills defense, of course, they're going to play. It's going to be tough all around, but I have to say, give me the Falcons in this game.
Yeah, especially with you mentioned all the receivers coming back. Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis should be a part of the offense there going into that game. So, it will be tough. And obviously, like you said, it's going to be hard for the Falcons to just stop the Bills there. Obviously, you can see I'm rocking the Trey Lance jersey. So I'm expecting it to be Lance season as we head over to the Jess, obviously, with a new quarterback starting. This is going to be one of those games where either Trey Lance goes and he puts on the performance we're expecting, or maybe he disappoints a little bit. But to me, it all depends on the Niners defense and taking care of business against this Houston Texans team.
Absolutely. And I'm leaning the Niners in this matchup too. I like it. I also like the over in this game too.
Okay.
Yeah, the Niners, they should be able to rely on the run game and gain yards against Houston, whose rush defense right now is ranked 30th in EPA per play. Houston, though, is averaging 28 points per game in the last 3 weeks. You have Rex Burkhead, who's showing life on the ground, and Mills is finally stepping up. I know it was against the Chargers, but still, I feel like they've been finding ways to stay close in games at some points. And then between both offenses taking advantage of opposing defenses, this game could be high scoring. And that's why I like the over the most in this matchup.
The over. I can't be mad at that. And also the return of Eli Mitchell. I know there's a couple questions about Eli Mitchell and if he should be in lineups this week. Obviously, with his return, Jeff Wilson is also going to be a factor. Trey Lance's legs are going to be a factor. Deebo Samuel carries the ball on the ground. To me, Eli Mitchell sitting at 75.5 seems a little high. I'm looking at the under in that one. Just first game back, I could really see them establishing the run, but obviously with more mouths to feed, it's going to be tough for that to happen. As far as Rex Burkhead, though, I know you said you like Rex Burkhead. Give me your thoughts on him. You think he's more of a play for the rushing? You looking at just overall touches and impact? What's your thought with Rex Burkhead in this rushing prop?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you pull up the prop there? I didn't see it, or maybe
sorry.
Here it is. Over 45.5. Is that what I'm seeing?
45.5 is the rushing prop right now for Rex Burkhead. The Niners, are tough against the run. Is that still something you'd be looking into, or you're staying away from?
Yeah, I actually in this game I do like it. I say go with the over. I think that would be a good call. He really stepped up last week, and I thought he played well, and I could see it happening again.
Yes. All right, and Brian's asking full PPR. DK Metcalf or Darrell Williams. Obviously, a lot of questions with DK Metcalf just being a little inconsistent. Darrell Williams stepping into a full-time role. I would roll with the safer option in your championship week. Go with Darrell Williams. And to me, that seems like the better option there. As we move on to this other game to me, which has a lot of potential for fireworks. Obviously, there's 7 minutes left. Make sure you guys get your fantasy lineups, your bets in at the Fanduel Sportsbook. But Arizona Cardinals, Dallas Cowboys. We got to touch on this one before we get off. Obviously, a very exciting game on paper, it seems. Jess, which way are you leaning in this one?
I would lean the Cowboys as well as the over if you were to make a play. Dak looked incredible last week against Washington football team. Now he's facing a much tougher defense in this matchup. The Cardinals defense did struggle against Wentz last week as well. The Cardinals did a good job containing JT last week, but overall they have not been dominant in shutting down the run this season. So we could see more explosive plays this week, or today, from the two-head monster attack in Pollard and Zeke. Kyler and all his weapons, they can be dangerous, but this Cowboys defense is, they've been playing really well this year too. So especially in that secondary with Diggs. They have a tough front seven, so Kyler is going to feel the heat in this matchup.
Yeah, with Lawrence, with Michael Parsons, that attack to me screams Kyler's going to be on the run for his life. And to me, without DeAndre Hopkins there, I'm looking at this over-under for 34.5 yards on the rushing with Kyler Murray. To me, this might be an under, to be honest, even though he'll be scrambling around. The Cowboys fly to the ball. And obviously the return of James Conner will help this out as well. When it comes to the over-under in this game, Jess, which shot do you have a lean on the over-unders? 51.5 points.
I would have to, honestly, I'm going to go with the over on this, as much as I just feel like, yes, they both have really good defenses, but offensively they have a lot of weapons, so both sides of the ball. So there's a good chance that this game could be going back and forth trying to keep up with each other.
Absolutely. One player, obviously, DeAndre Hopkins has been out for this team for a while. One player that has stepped up, if you're looking in same game parlay, is Christian Kirk. And to me, Christian Kirk, he has his receiving total set at 55.5. I think he might have that coverage with Trayvon Diggs, but I still really like them getting Christian Kirk involved there in the offense. Is there any other receiving prop that you were looking at that had your interest? Obviously, with CeeDee Lamb being at 65.5, Amari Cooper being at 58.5, and you're expecting fireworks. There's potential there for one of those guys to hit their over. Is there anybody that you're looking at that you're like, you know what, that could be a sneaky play or a good play when it comes to the receiving props?
Ooh, yeah, I feel like it's such a tough. It's like 1 week it's the CeeDee Lamb show, and then the next it's the Cooper show.
Yes.
When it comes to these teams, but honestly, I have to say I really I'm liking the fact that they're going to establish the run game. So I know you're looking at the wide receivers, but what are these? What do you have for Zeke?
For Zeke, it's 53.5.
And Pollard is the same, 53.
Pollard's off the board.
Oh, he's off the board. Okay. Yeah, I honestly, I kind of like Zeke. If I was to pick a player, I'd go with Zeke in this matchup just because, like I said, I feel like they're going to be able to establish a strong run game in this matchup.
Yeah, gotta love Zeke's performance over the last few weeks. Even though he's been a little bit banged up all season, it's good to see him bounce back and really have a strong finish to the season. A question coming in from Jacob. Full PPR, we're going with Gronk or Edmonds. And I do like Edmonds this week in PPR. Obviously, James Conner coming off the injury. We just talked about that. But Edmonds is going to be getting some catches. The thing you have to be worried about is with James Conner back, there go the red zone touches. So Gronk to me is also a good option, but he hasn't been as involved over the last couple of weeks. With Mike Evans returning, Antonio Brown back in the fold, I would probably go with Edmonds for the safe floor in this one. So Jess, obviously we have a couple minutes left until game time. We have one more game that we can go over here really quickly before we get off, and that is the Monday Night Football game, Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers. The line is set at 3.5. How are you feeling about this game?
I like the Steelers in this game. I would lean the Steelers, plus I would lean the over in this matchup. You have two teams that have been dealing with injuries all season long. You have Baker, who's underperforming, obviously because of injuries related. The run game between Chubb and Hunt, it's like, again, something with injury. Defensively, they have not been nearly as efficient as they were last season. They're middle of the pack when it comes down to shutting down the run. Then you have the Steelers, where their offensive line has been struggling this year, and we've clearly seen that. But some games they are able to keep up, and then others clearly they can't. But Najee Harris and his rookie game, they've had some great bursts. He's had some incredible games this season, and then other ones obviously not so well. But I have to say I really like two teams that two teams that have a lot of issues. But if I was to pick a side, I say the Steelers. I'll give me the Steelers and Big Ben, and Najee Harris especially.
Najee Harris, and as we take a look at Najee Harris's over-under total for rushing, it's set at 70.5. The one thing is I know they love to get him involved in the passing game as well, so this does concern me a little bit, but you can expect a lot of Najee Harris. To be honest, I think that he bounces back in a major way. He's been struggling a lot for fantasy managers in general, and so for me, I think this is an awesome chance for him to bounce back. Also looking at the receiving props, you got to love Deontay Johnson sitting there, but that number is kind of high at 72.5. Ben's going to go to his guy, and we're talking about the over. Just be careful with that one, but it could be something to get some action in on. We got about 1 minute left. Any parting thoughts about this Week 17 slate? I know it's been fun for fantasy managers. This is championship week. Go ahead and get your championships, and if you're taking some action here with the betting, Jessica, what are some parting thoughts that you have?
I just have to say this has been a really awesome season, and as far as games have been wild this year. Let me just put it that way. There's been a lot of, I feel like there's been some games that I for sure thought were going to go a certain way, and then they gave, it's the complete opposite. But I have to say, in the end, let's go Dolphins. Fins up, baby. I'm excited to see my boys play, and hey, not only am I betting on them, but I'm also rooting them from a fan standpoint, and I believe Tua, let's go, baby.
Hey, sometimes you got to believe. Fins up, and I'm believing in Lance season it is. Trey Lance and the Niners. Let's go get a win today against the Texans. Thank you guys for tuning into the Fanduel YouTube channel. Hopefully we help you guys with your start and sit and some betting questions. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, and we'll see you soon. Good luck week 17.